In part one of the ritual of confession that Koech, the MP who last year on 10th of July 2025 said that the police should shoot to kill Kenyans, we saw how that entire thing evolved, how it started, how Kenyans got to be declared terrorists in their own country, how the state responded, especially in 2025, who originated the idea, the characters involved in this story, because we have three characters. Murkomen comes, says the statement. Koech refrains, right? He repeats it, he echoes it, to chant, to put it in our mind that this is now a state of fear and Kenyans are not safe and they should not do this because the state will use its own, the agencies to shoot Kenyans. And in that time, other things were happening in the background, including declaring Kenyans who had protested to be terrorists, and they have been charged as that, particularly Kenyans from Mount Kenya region, right? And then we saw William Ruto, who is the third actor in this game, who is an expert in confessions and the ritual of confession, because he has done this a couple of times, especially when it involves murder, corruption, and basically brutality in Kenya. And he comes on, he walks back using the three, not walking back, but now he makes it like a national policy, using the three tactics of confession that is not a confession, in that he diverts. First of all, he says he diverts the conversation that it's not Kenyans who are protesting being shot, it's the criminals, right? Now he starts calling Kenyans who are protesting criminals, thereby forever condemning Kenyans and communicating to state agencies and the legal fraternity that these are criminals. Secondly, he diverts this, he doubles down and says they should be shot. The criminals should be shot. So he doubles down and says criminals should be shot, right? So doubling down and shoot on the issue of shooting means that even now, even after the protest, now we know that the police can shoot, and the police can actually use this as a reference that they're allowed to shoot, so that even if they shoot you and it ends up not on your leg but on your thigh, your femoral artery is hit and you die, but it was still the leg and so on, or maybe you went low and you were hit, basically the shooting thing remains. That was the essence of that walk back. And then he diversifies it and says, but shoot the leg, to pacify, because you diversify to pacify, to spread the risk. And in the risk where you can be told you are promoting and enabling violence in your own country, then you say it is shooting the leg. That is how William Ruto does it. Then a few months later, 7 to be exact, this dude, Koech, comes back. In a previously taped interview, from what we understand, but I don't know, he comes and says that he's a smart man. Look at how he's dressed, as if that has ever been anything. I mean, the best criminals are well dressed. If people were judged by how they dressed, then it would be done. But that is the ritual of confession, right? Appear smart, look like them, look harmless. And Kenyans have been made to believe that somebody in a suit is going to be good for you. Then he goes and says in the Constitution and the Bible. And when he uses those words, then you know you are done for, because now they will keep doubling down, because he still doubles down on criminality. And this is something that is prone to interpretation by the state agencies and the police, to say, well, they are criminals because, you know, as a matter of fact, in Kenya, in Africa, they are able to brand anybody a criminal, and they can even change the law just like that, because they are also legislatures to change the laws to make you a criminal. And so it doesn't matter. The issue of being shot and criminalization is now part of the Kenyan psyche, the Kenyan legal body works when it comes to protesting and demanding accountability from our leadership. That's where we are at. So in the final act of the ritual of confession, we now are going to look at how this table was laid out, so that now we can see how we are eating this entire meal. The table is laid out in a very clear way. It is laid out, there is a confessor. This guy who is now a good boy. He has worn his Sunday best. He has gone to the confessor. In this case, since he's not doing it in church, although he does invoke the Bible and the Constitution, he goes to the media. The media is the midwife, the facilitator, the padre, the one who will listen. And this journalist, whose qualification, ability to even accept confessions on behalf of Kenyans is not established, is not expected, and that's not their role, suddenly wears this collar, the priest collar, to say, confess your sins and you shall be forgiven. And so Koech says he did this, was not a bad boy, and so he's he's not going to go against the Bible. He doesn't confess, or the Constitution. He doesn't confess. He just says, this is kind of a misquoting, something. And if he said those words, he's sorry. So he doesn't go back to the roadside. Remember, he did this in his crowd, in his place, in his wherever he was, on a roadside. He should have literally, if he was confessing for real, he needed to call back those people, go back to the same crowd and say, ile siku nilikuja hapa nikasema police should shoot to kill. I am sorry, I apologize, it was wrong. Na sikumaanisha hivyo. And then we hear what the people are saying. But that doesn't happen. In the ritual of confession that the religious sect and organized religion has created, like I said and I finished, it's meant to transfer guilt and crime from the criminal, from the perpetrator, to the innocent victims, so that if you don't forgive your husband who has beaten you or has gone astray, if you don't forgive this, what is he, an MP who has brought this into the Kenyan psyche, became the echo in the chorus of shoot to kill, then you are now the guilty one. In other words, he has transferred the burden to you as the innocent listener. If you care to be religious about these things, I am not, so I don't care. And so my remedy is going to be against that, so that now you forgive him because he has sinned against you, because he confessed. And that's it. No consequences, nothing. In fact, the consequences are on you if you don't accept his apology. And that is how the church has destroyed Africa and the world, because they are able to take the people who are guilty, who are able to buy their way into the audience of the padre and to confess their crime without having to be held to account. And the media, now playing this role, has helped and is complicit in the same activity and action to whitewash this message, so that now the next terror, the next brutality, the next murders that are going to be committed by the state, they'll say we walked those back. Hata Koech alikuja kwa media akasema hakufanya hivyo. So we are going to be starting at zero. But remember, we are not starting at zero because they already built two pillars that are now in existence. Protesting can be criminalized. You can be called a criminal. And the second one is the shoot order still remains, even if they are shooting the foot, the legs. Country of wheelchair. So now they are starting on level 3. If level 1 was when it was all fair and games in 2024 and 2025, prior to those conversations, it would be level 1. Level 2 is the shoot to order element is there, and now the criminal element, which they have been echoing over and over again, and the courts have set a precedence. Remember, the judiciary now has set a precedence in Thika, in the other courts, that people were taken, that now it is, you can be branded a terrorist. So they are not starting at 0, they are starting at level 2. So they have gained ground even while confessing, because there is no retribution, there is no punishment we can give them. So right now, if you go online, you go to the news media, you go even to the Wikipedia pages, you will find that that is no longer the thing that is associated with this Koech guy, the Belgut MP. And that is because now even the media, the algorithm will start to sanctify him, because these are his latest remarks. And therefore, if you don't want to be complicit in airing this apology, do not air the apology, but remind Kenyans that this is what he said. Because even in walking back, he tried to deny it. And so in media, it is literally to pick that part, because that is also the same thing they pick, right? They say because of a building was done, so it's criminal. So you are allowed and you are able to choose that specific part where he tries to say he didn't say that and repeat what he says, and that keeps the algorithm and his nature and his confession moot, so that we remember, we don't forget, and that becomes the legacy of this Koech dude. That's his legacy. Good guy or not, Christian good guy or not, smartly dressed guy or not, he said those words, and those words have gained ground. They are no longer where they used to be. Right now, the terror and horror and oppression and the possibility of being brutalized by this government is real, and it has already now been entered into precedence, and that's where we are thanks to him. So do not accept that apology. Remind him that even in the apology it was not proper, and use that element to prop up and to return back his words, so those remain the words of Kenyans. So do not participate in this ritual of confession if you don't accept that apology.